Hey guys, what's up? It's Matt, and I'm here with TkyoSam, the guy who originally introduced me to All Japanese All the Time. You guys probably already know who he is. I'm still pretty nervous because he's basically a celebrity to me. So I probably sound all nervous and jittery and stuff. So hopefully that will go away soon. So yeah, how's it going, Sam?
Hey, I'm just staying black. I just, the two ex-wives keep bugging me about the kids, and I'm like, well, hey, like, I mean, they're not even mine. Why do you want me to pay for them? They're like, because you should pay for them, and I'm like, oh, god damn it. And then, my ex-dog, the dog, I didn't even know you could have an ex. Okay, maybe you should just cut this part out.
That sounds pretty
Shit
rough.
ramblings. Just
I'm
cut
just
that. Yeah, well, you know what? I'm doing fine. I'm getting by. I got no respect. No respect. I don't know how to start these things. Anyway, hi. Thanks. Hi everybody. Matt's awesome. Matt's one of my older viewers. He contacted me before any of this shit even happened. And oh yeah, apologies if I cuss and I sound like a bit of an asshole. But that's who I am, and I don't think Matt's got the time to bleep it out. And anyway, let's just get into it.
okay, cool. Yeah. I I think it's going to be really cool that I got to talk to you, Sam, today because you have AJAT experience and you've been living in Japan for a while. And up until now, all the people who I've really talked to about AJAT have been other people like me who spent most of the time outside of Japan. So one thing that to get started is if you know Dogen, who's another like Japanese YouTuber who's really good at Japanese. I mean, not Japanese YouTuber who makes videos about Japan. He said in his recent Q&A with Abroad in Japan that there's actually a lot more really fluent gaijin in Japan than people tend to assume. And that, like, yeah, in the 90s, it was pretty rare for, like, a white-looking guy or a Western-looking guy to be really good at Japanese. But now there are, like, thousands of them all over Japan, just they don't make videos. So, is that true?
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, like, I don't know. It depends on like what you say by like literate and like, or I mean, like if you say fluent, if you're talking about conversationally fluent versus like reading and writing fluent,
Well,
definitely there are. I
do
don't know. There's a lot of foreigners that like speak very fluent Japanese, but I've met more I think that speak versus like read and write Japanese. Like I've met tons of Russians and Africans that can speak very fluently, but they don't know how to read or write.
yeah,
Uh,
no kanji.
well, no, well, I mean, like, what was it? I don't know. Like, I met this dude when I went to motorcycle school here. He was the only other white guy I saw there, and it was funny because I had signed up for this Japanese driving school to get my license, and I only picked it because it was the closest one to my house. And it turns out that was the only driving school in Tokyo that had English, like English courses. But I found that out. I'm like 2 weeks into it, and there's another white dude there. But I signed up for the Japanese courses because it was $200 less, and I was gonna do that anyway. And I was like, "Hey, white guy." So I'm like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" And I'm speaking to him in like kind of rude Japanese. I'm like, "Ome wa doko no shushin kai?" And he's like, "Oh, he's like, Beikoku nan desu yo." And I'm like, "Beikoku? You're not even gonna say fucking America?" Ooh, Eidai Sony. And anyway, I was just, we became friends, and yeah, he works in IT, and he told me about how like he spoke way better, nicer, fluent Japanese than I did, or more proper. Um, like he had a black belt in Aikido. I have a black belt in street fighting. Um, but he's yeah, no, but like I haven't met a lot of Western fluent foreigners in Japan now, but like but yeah, no,
But
that's
it gotta
that's my
depend on whether you're in or out, like inside or outside of Tokyo, right? Like there gotta be a large majority of them in Tokyo. It would seem like, right?
mm, well, you gotta take in mind Dogen lives in like Kyushu or whatever.
Yeah,
By the way,
yeah.
you guys know Dogen. I know him. His name's Kevin. He's a good dude. I know him because there was another YouTuber that died a couple of years ago called Roger Swan, and they both went to KO. And I know Dogen because he wrote a very nice eulogy for him on his website, and then we also became friends through studying Japanese. Yeah, Dogen's Japanese is it's good, um, but I don't know. I mean, like I think I don't want to talk shit about the guy because he is super fluent. But it's like I know that I make tiny grammatical errors and stuff, and my accent doesn't sound that amazing sometimes. But Dogen's one of those guys where I like when I've seen him out in public, he doesn't really speak like he can't. He doesn't. Well, I mean, kind of like Roger Swan. They weren't very the most articulate, cool, charismatic people out there, So when they talk, there's a little bit of fumblage. But his videos are very they're not raw. They're very scripted.
Yeah,
He
yeah. He
cuts them
admits
out.
that. He totally admits
Yeah.
that, but
Yeah, so I mean, like, it's me. I'm more like raw, fucking David Tell on the street, insomniac kind of style. Like, hey, fat hookers, game on. you know? But yeah, I don't know. It's just I think that overall, like, when you're outside of Tokyo, not Tokyo. I don't know. That's one thing that I've just I don't know. I've kind of gotten used to because for when I teach English, like using the gaijin, how do you say the way
pronunciation.
of pronunciation? Yeah, fucking
Pronunciation.
losing.
Sorry.
I no speak ego. Gomen sorry. But they yeah. So I'm used to like saying that in like karate and karaoke and
Yeah,
shit.
we're speaking English, so
Yeah. Well, they anyway, yeah, it's like for that like when people are outside Tokyo, you have to like it's very common to see a foreigner that speaks Japanese because in Tokyo everyone assumes that you're going to be that you're a tourist. If you're like a any kind of obvious non-Japanese looking person, they think you're a tourist or you're a student, you're only going to be here for a little bit. They never assume that you've been here for a long time. But outside Tokyo, everyone's kind of more chilled and more relaxed. They don't have so much a guard up, and so when they see you, they don't want to speak English. They want to speak Japanese for the most part. They don't want like most people. They don't want drama. They don't want extra trouble. They don't want to.
yeah.
They want to be lazy. So,
Actually, that makes total sense because if you wanted to be like a gaijin in Japan, like enjoy the I'm living my life in English bubble, then you probably would be in Tokyo. Like if you're the more you're in the countryside, the more Japanesey it's actually going to be. So actually, that does make sense. I don't know why I assumed that it would be the opposite.
yeah, well, I mean, like it's in Tokyo. Everybody wants to get a head up. It's kind of like China for the most part. They want you to, they want to get a leg up on the game and shit. So a lot of people try to speak to you in English. And then just for the fact is that most of the foreigners that are interacting with the public on a regular basis are tourists. So tourists don't speak Japanese for the most part. So that's like it's okay for them to have that stereotype. And I don't know. I had a buddy named Andrew here who way more fluent than I'll ever be. Actually, I could read better than him, so fuck him. But I could talk, I could get people to like me faster than he could get them to like him. So I consider that more fluent. But he was always correcting my Japanese, which was fine. It's good. But he was always being like, "Why don't people accept me as Japanese?" And I'm like, "You live in Tokyo, dude, and like, your job is being like the foreign kind of like consultant, like the foreign departments in your company. People assume that like that you're not going to be Japanese, and like I don't know. I'm just like, it's like going to a shallow pool and being like, why can't I dive here? I won't hit my head. I know how to dive and not hit my head. I'm like, well, you're in a shallow pool. People are going to automatically tell you don't dive in the pool. They don't know you. They don't know your background. Yeah, well, I should be able to dive in the pool, goddammit. I don't care if there's kids here. It's kind of like that, So for me, I'm kind of like, whatever. I just do whatever I think, and I don't care what people think most of the time because half the time people are lazy and they don't do anything. And even if you do something fucked up, and then the other time, they won't say anything anyway. So you can get away with murder. It's awesome. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, you'll meet a lot more fluent foreigners outside of Tokyo, and it will be more. They won't give you shit for it. You'll be people who are like, "I'll never be Japanese." Well, you live in Tokyo then, so shut up.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like in the context that Dogen was saying that, he was basically saying, don't learn Japanese if you are doing it because you want to be special. Like if you think that, you can go to Japan and you'll master Japanese and then you'll be special, then that's probably a bad reason and that won't be true because that's like not actually that rare. Like, do you think that's fair to say?
Oh yeah, no. Well, I mean, like I don't know why. I mean, maybe it's just because I wanted to be special, but it's like what the fuck are you doing, Evernote? Stop it. It's like I originally learned Japanese because I wanted to assimilate, because I wanted to assimilate really hardcore. I thought the best way to do it would be well, I mean, at first it was just I wanted to understand what the hell is going on around me, and watch anime without subtitles on. But it's interesting how it becomes like more of like, I don't know. I wanted to be Japanese, or at least have them to stop fucking treating me like some stupid foreigner that couldn't do anything. I mean, like, because that's a lot of thing that people complain about, which they really shouldn't. Like, when you come here originally and you're like an ALT, or you're a place where you're getting thrown in with a bunch of Japanese people, a lot of people will want to be your babysitter. They're like, oh, let me do this for you. Oh, let me do that for you. Oh, it's okay. Oh, no, 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 it's fine, it's fine. Like, they don't want, like, they want to make it as easy for you. And it's not being, like, malicious or anything. They just want to be, like, they want to make it, a lot of Japanese people, they have this, this is my theory after being here for so long, but I think a lot of Japanese people, they've got, well, I mean, this isn't a theory, but the thing after this is a theory. A lot of Japanese people have, like, they're brought up with this inferiority complex here in Japan, where it's like white people, Europeans are better than them, and so
Yeah, yeah.
they need to be humble, and they always have, like, you'll go out and they'll be like, oh, I wish I had brown blue eyes and blonde hair, and like it's so cool, and like high noses and stuff. People will say that, and they'll say that like for real, not for play. They'll say it like kind of jokingly, but like they really mean it, and it's like, I've got this big Jewy nose, so it's like I've never really been too. Hey, my mom's Jewish. Fuck off, It's
I'm
like he
Jewish.
said Jewy. Yeah, hey, I'm Jewish on my tourist side. But it's like I mean, like Japanese people think that like having European features are better. Like lighter skin,
Yeah,
bigger
yeah.
nose, round eyes, and so it's like when finally they get a chance to interact with that person needs help. They get this sense of superiority, like, yes, like, and it's like an easy thing, like where like a kid's like fell down and you come and pick him up or something, and the mom's like, thank you, and you're like, oh no, just doing my civil duties, woman. See, I'm not a child molester, I picked up that kid, I'm a good person. Where's the hot chick and chocolate cake now? Come on, I did something good, right? And so it's kind of, I don't know. They do that, I think, it's to get like the feelies, the good superiority feelies. And at first it's fun, but then I was like, hey, I want to help. I want to be part of the team too, not just like the special handicap
Yeah,
kid you guys
yeah,
let sit on
yeah.
the bench. And but I mean, you'll if you don't think about it too much, you'll be fine. Just like, get your Japanese, spend your. I always tell everybody, come to Japan. If you're from like a Western background, come to Japan, teach English for a year or two. Really take that time to suck up, getting used to like learning to Japan and living here, and soaking up the language, and then like branch out and do whatever the hell you want. Don't ever take anything too seriously, especially trying to call Japanese people racist or something, because that's stupid. I even have a couple videos on that. So there you go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think I definitely, like, looking back, I wanted to be special for sure a lot of the time because, I mean, I wasn't that conscious of it. I was just like a high schooler or like when I was first in college. And I remember I would feel so cool when I was hanging out with all the Japanese kids and I was the one white guy who was good at Japanese. And there was a bunch of American people trying to study Japanese, but they all sucked. And, but what I really realized is that as if what I was trying to do was master Japanese, right? And if I master Japanese, then that makes me not special because now I'm kind of on an equal playing field. Like I saw that Japanese people, they didn't view me as one of them. They, like you said, they viewed me as like, oh cool, let me pet you. It's just like a cute pet kind of. And and of course at first, yeah, it's really awesome. But then you kind of realize like, oh well, I want to be like one of you. Like I want you to view me as like an actual person. And then if you succeed in that, which you definitely can do, then you're not special at all anymore. Then you're just totally normal. So I think it's kind of a it's kind of a funny paradox where it's like if you are learning Japanese, like if you were like me and you feel like, oh yeah, I don't even fucking care about my own country. Mastering Japanese is all that matters. I should be really you should really question your motives because you might have some unconscious baggage or something like that, like hoping that you can be special or something that didn't happen in your own country would happen over there in Japan or something like that.
Well, I mean, like, it's like I grew up poor, alcoholic mom, whatever, the whole 9 yards. So, of course, I always wanted to escape. But I mean, like, I came here like for the first time, like, right after high school. Like, I was supposed to go into this study abroad program. I didn't get allowed in because I was suspended a lot, even though my grades were fine. And it's just like, and my uncle was like, "Fuck it, you've saved up money from your part-time job." And I was like, "Yeah, but like I don't have enough money for a plane ticket." And he's like, "Just I'll buy the plane ticket. Just go." I spent like three months walking around, Japan and shit for the whole time, and it was great. I just went and did it myself. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's just like it's weird because like a lot of people, when they come here, they're so surprised because like this was like 12 years ago or something. No, fucking 13 years. I'm old. Anyway, point is I'm old and I suck. But they back then I'm like, what the hell? Because I never thought of myself as American. I never really like associated that with my identity. It's more like, what part of New York you from? Oh, Bronx. Where you from? Queens. It's like, oh, okay. Here you got a bunch of fucking guineas up there. By the way, it's just I say a lot of offensive things, but I don't mean them for the autistic people of the group here. Was that racist? I don't know, or mean? I don't care. Whatever. That's retarded. Point is, that like when you come here, you're kind of like an instant celebrity. Like people are like, oh, it's great, it's great. But you either play cool or like you kind of like freak out and be like, I'm not cool. Like, why are you acting so cool? It's like just the way they roll, dude. But I don't know. It's just I think that yeah. I don't know. I have this in one of my videos called one of my TKO rants called Gaijin Mentors Who Changed My Life. I'm pretty sure Katz is in there too, but I met another dude when I was in the countryside here, and his name was H, and he was an ex-Mormon missionary who came here. He left the church, married a Japanese woman, became a sumo wrestler, did that for a couple of years. Then he became a bouncer for people like Gakto and stuff. And, he started up his own business. He joined Blackwater, the mercenary group, for a little bit. Like, the guy's fucking awesome. And I just met him being an ALT. And he's the one who kind of got me into a lot of self-improvement, male self-improvement stuff that made me kind of the asshole I am today. But anyway, the point is that he told me, he spoke extremely fluent because like sumo wrestlers have to speak polite Japanese, and he spoke always very fluent Japanese, but he would never use Japanese around people. And I'm like, why? Like, I know I've seen you on the phone, motherfucker. Like, why don't you talk? Like, we go out to Saizeri or something, and he'd be like, oh, I want hot sauce, whatever. And he's like, and like he told me, he's like, at one point I was trying to be super Japanese after like quitting sumo and stuff and being a bodyguard. But the thing is that like, I'm gonna kill the dreams of everybody listening to this, but it's like Japanese treat Japanese people really bad, man, or not really. Okay, their expectations for each other are very high. So
Yeah.
once you get to that level where they appreciate you as another Japanese person, they're gonna hold you up to those standards. And if you do anything out of the norm, they'll either be because gaijin san da kara na, or like yappari gaijin da na, or like basically just like either lump it in with you being a foreigner versus you just being a stupid person who never fucking understood that shit, or two, it's like they're gonna hold you up to a high standard and then they're gonna just treat you like shit. But if you're a foreigner, and you act like a foreigner, you get a free pass on like 100% of that stuff, pretty much. That's why sometimes that's why I still have long blonde hair now, and like why like I kind of act like an asshole when I'm in public, and why I don't speak Japanese so nicely sometimes. It's just like it's way easier like once you have that card and you've like gone in the library and you've used it for a couple amount of times, and then you're like, wow, this isn't that good. I liked being outside a little bit more and coming in whenever I wanted to with just the day pass. Then you're gonna go with the day pass more. I mean, that's where I got to, but I feel like you need to get to that limit of being normal finally, being normal Japanese, and then you can
Yeah.
decide, I keep doing that or do I stay? Because like even Dogen, he worked for a Japanese company. He was like, fuck that, I'm doing YouTube now. And he's Japanese is fluent, so like a lot of foreigners, they kind of just give up on that whole Japanese dream at some point.
Yeah. Wait. So do you
Not
think
saying
it's?
that you guys should, though.
Yeah.
Totally take my word for it. I'm just a fat white guy with a ponytail. Black guy. Fat black
Well,
guy.
I mean, what you're saying about the Japanese treating each other like shit, like I kind of have been thinking a lot about that because, you know, I imagine when most like American people go to Japan, on a surface level, everything's just like better, right? Like the bathrooms are just cleaner, the toilets are more fancy, the food tastes better, conveniences are way nicer, everything is just like the attention to detail is just five notches above everything in the US, and everyone's more polite and everyone's cleaner, everyone's not as noisy. But to make everything better like that, like every individual has to work harder, and that's expected of them. Like so, the norm for everyone is above the normal. So it's like every individual Japanese person pays a price for how higher for the high quality of everything in Japan. And so becoming a Japanese person means like paying that price and being expected to pay the price, and that's the norm. And if you don't, now you are worthy of being shamed. And and I mean a lot and I kind of thought like I don't know like if that would be a worthy trade for me if I was a Japanese person. Like would I want to be born if I could press a button and I would actually look Japanese and be Japanese? I probably wouldn't press that because I mean I would. I'm kind of a lazy guy too, and I'd rather have public bathrooms be messy than be lazy. Not that they're directly connected or anything. But if you are a gaijin, you kind of get the best of both worlds in a kind of fucked up way because you're not held to that standard, but you still get a benefit from all the nice stuff.
Yeah, it's like being Blade, pretty much. Like, you have all of our strengths and none of our weaknesses.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah, and that's why I still am kind of interested in Japan because what I realize is like my inherent personality is very unfavorable in Japanese society because I'm very disagreeable and I'm not very conscientious, and so I don't if I don't agree with people, I'm gonna tell them like I hate just going along with stuff and conformity, and I actually just can't. I can't suck it in. I suck at gammon when it comes to that kind of stuff, and also I hate doing stuff just because I'm told to. Like I always sucked at school, even though it was easy, because I can't do research and write an essay just because I need to for the grade, even though I don't want to do it. And so I feel like if I was born and raised in Japan, I would do awfully because, if you're the nail that sticks out gets banged back in. And so for a while that turned me off about Japan, but then I realized like, well, I'm not Japanese anyway, and so I'm not gonna have to fit that mold if I went to Japan. And so yeah, I mean, I kind of in myself like if I have that video I made a year and a half ago or more like a little over a year ago where I'm complaining about how I got disillusioned by Japan, but a lot of that was me kind of like letting that part of me die that really wanted to be Japanese. But do you think that reaching that place like and not that I've done it yet because I haven't been to Japan, so it's not I don't want to make it sound like I think that I've already like seen the territory, but do you think like it's different between if you're a gaijin who goes to Japan and you never have the aspiration of wanting to be Japanese and you just I'm play your gaijin card from day one versus like you or Dogen where you do go and you reach the peak and then you decide that you want to come back down?
well, I mean, the thing is that, like, for everybody listening or watching, I'll just say this: it's like, the mountain's always gonna look awesome from below once you've actually made the trek up there and decided to go back down. It's like, I mean, language, like learning language and understanding a culture versus being 100% assimilated into that culture are two completely different things. And so it's like you don't need to be playing baseball to understand how baseball works, but you're going to appreciate watching baseball a lot more if you've actually played the game a bunch and just decide to kind of sit back and go back to the stands for a little while, right? So it's like I'm still in Japan. I still have a Japanese office job 4 days a week that I go into. And I speak Japanese. I fucking type Japanese. But it's a lot looser environment than normal, like it is. It's just I wear whatever the fuck I want. I work with like these beautiful Japanese ladies. And it's just like, and like, it's so there are options for you to get out of the rigidity of this shit, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's like there's some things that you gotta set boundaries for or compromises. But I think when you're young, it's best to get as much exposure to everything as you can, so that way you'll be able to. When you're old, like people that are old and kind of rigid, the reason why they're old and rigid and angry most of the time is because they've already been through the shit. They know what they don't want anymore. So it's like, come on, Grandma, let's go to Taco Bell. And she's like, I fucking hate Taco Bell. Their tacos suck. They're all dry. I don't get drunk anymore, so it's not tasty anymore. I don't want to go to Taco Bell. Let's go get some quality food somewhere else at an actual restaurant. It's like, no, come on, Grandma, you're such a bitch. It's just like, It's like I already went through Japanese society. I went through the culture. I worked as a salaryman for 3 years. It's just wearing a suit every day, coming in and saying "Ohayou gozaimasu" and typing my Nikki every day for what I did for work, and having to do the fucking asakaigi and shit. And it's like, so I've already been part of that, and I just decided I don't really want to do that anymore. But it's good to get up there and do it eventually versus just quitting overall. I mean, because some people might like it. Like my buddy Carson, he works for like a JCOM or NTT or like Yahoo or something, and he still works there and he likes it, and he's like he understands that he's not going to be the president of the company or whatever, but he doesn't want to be the company president. He just wants to do his job, come home to his wife and kid. That's all he wants to do. So yeah, shit.
Cool,
I guess
cool.
like
Well, yeah, what you said about the difference between being a baseball player but understanding baseball and being in the stands, that actually makes a lot of sense to me as a metaphor, and that kind of seems like the place that I would hope to get to. And well, it kind of seems like something I've been feeling for a while, but I didn't have a way to articulate because people are always like, hey, you're not going to be Japanese, and I'm like, yeah, I know I don't want to be Japanese, but they're like, well, then why are you studying Japanese so hard? And it's like, well, I still want to be good at Japanese, but I guess that's kind of what I was kind of. It's like that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a commentator or watch from the stands, but know exactly what was going on.
On a separate note, I guess like before we even go anything further into this interview, for all you guys learning Japanese and wanting to come to Japan and assimilate to a certain level eventually, you got to remember that most of the time, like 95% of the time, the only people that are talking shit about you are trying to dissuade you from doing shit are other foreigners. There's no Japanese people who have ever been like, fuck you, you'll never be Japanese. Not a single one up until now. In fact, I've had more people be like, why haven't you taken Japanese citizenship yet, Sam? I remember when I used to go out with cats, people would be like, itsu kokuseki torenno? And he's like, yeah, yada. Toreneja. Toreneo. Nonde torenendayo. Irane tsutendaro, omae. It's like, like, it's, but I mean, like, Japanese people, like, as long as, like, they know that you get it, and that you speak, and you can speak, and you can talk like them, it's just like America. It's like if somebody came over, like my friend Masa, she's a backup dancer for fucking Justin Bieber, who's Japanese from Tokyo. She speaks fluent English, like super fluent. And when she goes to the States, people just assume that she's American because she speaks English. Same thing in Japan. If you speak Japanese fluently, people might at first say, "How did you learn Japanese so much?" But if you just say, "I grew up here," then that's the end of the conversation. Like they're like, "Oh, he grew up here." Okay, whatever. Anyway, let's go get lunch. I'm hungry. It's like bum bum bum. It's like you don't need to make it like a 10-step process. But anyway, yeah, man. I mean, it's just the only people that are gonna tell you're never Japanese are other foreigners. And I remember that like from Katz himself.
So on a similar note, what about? Do you think the JLPT is an example of that? Like, do Japanese actual companies or people hiring, do they care at all about the JLPT? Or can Jitsuryoku be enough?
Jitsuryoku can totally be enough 100% of the time. But the thing is that if you're going to be working for a foreign company or a company that hires a lot of foreigners or has foreigners in charge of their hiring department, then they'll want you to have that JLPT to get your foot in the door. Basically, what is it? I mean, like, but for normal jobs, like Katz worked for Sony, and he didn't have the JLPT, but he gave them his Japanese resume. He talked to them over the phone in Japanese, and he had to clarify multiple times that he's not a Japanese person speaking for a foreigner. He is the guy that they're talking to. I mean, if you can do that, then, like, it's like, what is it? It takes, like, less than a minute. And then just be like, look, I can read this stuff to you right now. It's just getting that initial foot in the door at first. But unless you're going through foreign recruiters or you're going through like Gaijin Pod, like if you go through like any company on Gaijin Pod, they're going to be like, well, you need to have JLP. Well, no, actually, they've gotten better now. They realize that people with JLPT aren't necessarily the best ones. Like my ex-roommate, JR, he's got like JLPT level 1, and he sucks at Sorry, JR, don't watch this video. I know he's probably not going to watch this video, but, it's just like he works at a Japanese IT company. And he speaks pretty good Japanese, but he's like, he was so angry when he got done with the JLPT-1 because he's like, I'm never using any of this ever in my whole entire life in Japan. Why did I have to do this? And he's like, and no, Japanese people don't know the JLPT. They don't know it. They don't care about it. If you tell them you got the kanji kente or the kanken, whatever, right? And you're like, then they're really impressed because they're like,
Oh
oh
yeah.
shit, Japanese people do that. There's the JBT. I covered this all in my Japanese lessons on Patreon. But I have full total lessons about this shit too. But for the most part, it should be. I think that if you want to have an easier experience in Japan and you kind of want to work with foreigners, getting the JLPT isn't necessary, but it makes things go a lot more smoothly if you can get the JLPT.
But it
Get
does sound
JLPT
like
too.
it's a thing for the gaijin. Like the gaijin, if you want to work for something that involves gaijin, then yeah, you need it. But if you're doing an actual Japanese job with Japanese people and stuff, like, then yeah, it sounds like doesn't doesn't really matter.
Well, it doesn't matter,
But
but again, you got to be kind of charismatic and be able to carry your weight with this kind of stuff. Like you got to be able to sell yourself. Like I went for this job interview one time at this steel company, and in Saitama that was advertising through Gaijin Pot, and it was for sales though. And again, like I hadn't spoken like very clean Japanese in a long time, and I just went there on a whim. And they had me interview, and they were like, "Well, you're doing a lot of domestic trading and stuff, blah blah blah," and I'm just talking to them, and I didn't get the job obviously, but I was like, "Wow, yeah, my formal Japanese sucks recently. Oh, I like it's like I can communicate just fine, but like sounding like I'm sucking a big fat dick, I can't. That's just not part of my
yeah,
personality."
that is pretty hard in Japanese.
You gotta. Well, I mean, like it's funny because like people think that how do I learn Keigo, and I'm like, you don't even know what watashi wa means, you motherfucker. But it's like, don't worry, guys. To understand formal speech is so much easier than just having to recreate it. It's just like,
Yeah, yeah. Well, because there's 50,000 words that mean pretty much the same thing, but they actually are a little different. So it's like all you have to know is, oh yeah, that's another word that means iku. That's another word that means kuru. Another word that
yep,
means suru.
yeah.
But to actually reproduce it, you have to know the exact nuance between all of them and stuff.
Well, I mean, like they'll let you get away with it sometimes, but I mean, it's one of those things where if you get your foot in the door, you'll be able to pick it up pretty quick. But yeah, I didn't. Oh man, like the whole thing. Like I got two full books on Keigo and like business Japanese mastery for Japanese people. That's how like
Yeah,
shitty
yeah,
that
yeah.
sounds. But anyway, yeah, that's for the most part. Do you need JLBT? No, but would it be helpful? Yeah, I mean, like if you just like it's $50, I wipe my ass with $50. Just go out, take the test. Um, I mean, like I don't know. Sometimes I did it for fun. I actually went when Jr. went and took his test. I went to that test too, and I failed miserably. But he did pretty good. So the JLPT is mostly like the JLPT one sucks because they give you a lot of trick answers, like where it could mean this in a different context, or it could mean this in a different context, but then they didn't give you the context for it. So it's really kind of like up in the air. Like, okay, well maybe it could be that, but it could be that one too. But anyway, fuck the JLPT. If you're gonna, but I mean, get it anyway. Didn't you have another question on here on how Japanese people react when you explain AJAT?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I tried explaining to Japanese people how I've studied. I even tried explaining it to foreigners. Like I have a buddy on YouTube who doesn't talk to me anymore, Dov Trupin, or as he likes to be known, Dave Trippin. And I used to give him advice all the time on studying Japanese, and he never listened to any of it. And then he'd run into a foreigner who's super fluent, and he's like, wow, like, Sam, this guy's super fluent. He's telling me about this remembering the kanji book, and I'm like, motherfucker, I explained that to you like 6 times. Why didn't you remember any? It's like, you'll get to this point, guys, where at first you're really going to be wanting to like share your experience with people and like, get them on the AJAT train with you. But then you're just going to get to the point where you're kind of like bitter and angry and be like, it was like, wow, your Japanese is so good. How did you study? Like, whenever Japanese people ask me that now, I'm never going to tell them what I do. I always just say, they're like, どうやって日本語を勉強したの? And I'm like, 全部、なんか、まあ、独学だけどな。And they're like, 独学? 何をしたんだ? I was like, ただ、なんかテレビだけを見てた。テレビだけを見てたのすげえな。それだけそう、それだけだよ. Just lying. Because I'm not, what the fuck? I'm only gonna be
Yeah,
here for
yeah.
5 seconds. I don't care.
And
Uh,
then, I mean, they don't. They probably don't actually want to know, right? It's probably more like, well, I mean, have you ever come across someone who was really like one of those Japanese people who really wants to get good at English, and they're just like, "What's the secret? What's the secret?"
I never tell them. I don't care. I don't care. Like, it's like, H, the same guy who kind of got me into my gaijin mentality. It's just like, and by the way, he told me like that Japanese people treat Japanese people like shit, and I was still very stubborn for like 7 years, like until I went through all that. Now I'm kind of at the age that he was when I met him. I think that it's like if somebody really respects your style and they want to learn it, if they quit after one time of asking you, they're not worth teaching. It's just that simple. They got no spine. They're weak. It's like it's the Kung Fu Master thing. Please teach me. No. Please teach me. No. Please. Okay. Like, you got to go back and don't give up, because they know that if somebody's willing to go through that much shit, that they're willing to, go through the other trials and tribulations and shit. So, yeah, but at the most point,
But
everybody is.
there's so no one's asked you, no one's begged you to teach them kung fu yet.
Well, no, I mean, well, that's one of the reasons why I did that Patreon. Why I did the Patreon, $35 a month lessons. It's like I was like, I'm fine. I'm not gonna make a video on it like on YouTube. I'm just gonna make it a 30+ lesson, like video lesson lecture series where people can see my screen, and I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna answer questions, and like I'm like, all of this stuff you guys could find online for free. And it's like, yeah, but like, just tell us. And I realized, half the time people just wanted to give me money under the guise of getting Japanese lessons that they're not going to use. But the other half of the time, they actually do it. So, yeah, I mean, I made those lessons on there just so I could be like, okay, listen, you want my advice on learning Japanese? I've already made like 3 videos on that. If that wasn't enough for you, go over to my Patreon, $35, and that's like the gate in the door right there. And like almost 90% of the time, people are just like, fuck it, I'm just not free. Yeah, like another dude on Facebook the other day, he was like, hey Sam, I want to come over to Japan. I'm like, cool, just like, get on over here. And he's like, well, I don't have a degree. I'm like, well, just go to school. He's like, yeah, but I have a wife and kid. Okay, well, just come on over here, go to school, and then like you can work part-time or whatever, take out a bunch of loans, do something. He's like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I have all these skills. Like, I worked at Walmart and stuff. I was like, listen, dude. Like, I was like, just come over, do the school thing. Sorry, I don't know what else to tell you. He's like, well, I have, and I'm like, okay, listen, if you want to pick my ear anymore, $100 to two 1-hour lessons. Otherwise, fuck off. And then the dude totally fucked off after that. It's like, it's simple. When you say, okay, fuck you, pay me, people disappear like that. So like whenever Japanese people are like, I want to learn English, I'm like, fine, pay me. It's like Joker said,
Yeah, yeah.
that quote, if you're good at anything, you never do it for free. So, yeah, that's the gatekeeper right there.
Yeah, well, I mean, it just seems like there is no equivalent of AJET for Japanese people, really. I mean, not in Japanese. Like, it's like, I have one Japanese patron who actually, like, first he discovered Anti-Moon, and then he discovered AJET, but he's actually Japanese, right? So that's pretty, I mean, the whatchamacallit set pretty high, because he had to, like, decipher the Anti-Moon website, in his broken English at the time. Whereas, I just read the AJET website that was in English, my native language, but there really is nothing like that for Japanese people, I feel like. Like, just the idea that what you need is a method, not actual, like, instruction. Like, you don't need a... Japanese people think, like, oh, yeah, you're good at English, teach me English, but they don't think, like, give me a method that will actually allow me to teach myself English to a high level.
Well, I mean, the thing is that people they usually just want the one scoop answer, they don't want to,
yeah, of course.
They don't want the variety, they just want, like, tell me this book, like, I think people love to overcomplicate everything. It's like, I was just listening to a documentary on fucking Da Vinci, and like he was like, always look for the simplicity in everything, you'll find the answer like immediately. And when it comes down to it, it's just like AJET's just like being a baby. You're forced to be in a language. You have two things that you need to do, and then that's it. You'll be fluent. Just do those two things. Well, I mean, three things. Be in an immersive environment, do the remembering the kanji, do the sentences, and give it a year. 10,000 plus sentences. You're gonna be so much more fluent than any fucking third year Japanese class college student ever. But the thing is that if you don't believe in any of it and you're not going to actually dedicate your time to it, it's never gonna happen. And a lot of people think, well, this textbook has, they have sentences and they have different little fill in the blank exercises, and they have like kanji that's totally not structured at all, like Heisig, but I feel like it's a structure I'm learning. But then they give up after like 10 pages and never touch that book again. I gave Dave Trippin my fucking all my JLPT master books, never touched them. That was like $60. I gave it to him as a present after I used them. Never touched them. It's like textbooks suck. They're boring. No one ever finishes them. And if you do, you're God. You're God.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Well, I mean, you say it like, yeah, you're right. Learning a language is really simple. You just need a fuck ton of exposure to it. But people have this kind of preconceived notion, like this bullshit they were fed, that hey, after you hit the age of 12, then that doesn't work anymore. Like your brain's turned to mush now, and that doesn't work. And they like believe that so deeply, and they filter everything through that. And then it kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because it's like no one studies like AJAT, and so everyone sucks at languages. And then they're like, see, look, adults suck at languages because they tried to use textbooks and it didn't work. But they didn't even realize that they didn't actually try to do what they did to learn their first language. And I feel like that's even stronger for Japanese people. Like they feel like, oh, when they think get good at English, they think like memorize a bunch of shit. They don't think actually read books like at all. It seems like that's like such a foreign idea to them. Yet for somehow they think that if they go abroad, then they'll magically suck it up through osmosis. But it seems like there's nothing to like red pill them. Like there's nothing to drop to go and be like, no, dude, guess what? That's not how language acquisition works. You just fucking listen and then your brain figures it out for you. Like there's no way for Japanese people to figure that out. I feel really bad for them.
I really love this whole red pill thing. I really wish like they had that term around when I started learning AJAT, because it's like it's true. I mean, there's the world that we think we live in with the reality that we've been given by growing up in this society, and then there's the reality of how it actually goes down. And yeah, I mean, the thing is, at the end of the day, people are just there. A lot of people are sheep, man, and they love conformity. They don't want to stick out. They're too afraid of doing something that's outside the box. And AJAT is, well, that's one of the things that was so appealing to me about AJAT, is that it was completely outside of the box. But not just that, but I had been in Japan for about, like, total from like traveling and then also being there for that time. I'd been there for about a year, and I'd met so many gaijin who spoke Japanese, but none of them were fluent like Katz. I remember, well, the first time I met Katz, we went to a sushi place because I didn't trust him. I didn't think that he spoke Japanese, so I on purpose went to a sushi place because at the sushi place they didn't have English, and so I had learned the menu just by going 1, 2, 3, like just going through it and then associating a number to each one and then being like, okay, that kanji means anago, that kanji means uni, and because I'd just been there, I'd gone through the fucking thing. But so I knew those, but I knew them because of I'm a fat guy who likes sushi, and yeah, hashtag GoPro video taken down. Woo. Anyway, they but I was like, okay, what's this one? Because I knew them. I knew them. I didn't know what Tashi were or anything, but I knew that, like, it's like this one thing that you guys will realize, too, even if you never do AJAT or anything, is that if you live in Tokyo or you live in the countryside and you're taking the train all the time, you're going to start recognizing kanji, whether you want to or not. Like, oh, that's Ikebukuro. Oh, that's Shibuya, just because you've seen it so many times. So I was like, what's that, Cats? He's like, oh, that's uni? I don't know, that's like sea urchin or something. I'm like, oh, fuck. How do you know that? I'm like, okay, what's this one? Tarako? Oh, shit, I don't even know what that is in English. But, yeah, I was like, and so, like having somebody that had that level and they'd never done any of that formal training that everybody else likes to brag about so much. Sean Connery, I studied 2 semesters of Japanese in Oxford. It's like, no, you didn't. Shut up, Sean Connery. Go beat your wife. Even though, well, I still love Sean Connery even though he beats his wife. That's a sad thing to admit, but I do. It's like Tom Cruise, you know. I can like his movies, but I don't care if he's a Scientologist. Anyway, next question. Let's move on before I say more fucked up shit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds like because that's what I found in my experience too, is that the best way to change someone's mind is just like put the proof right in front of their face, like because it's really hard to deny that. And I mean, people still deny it. Oh, I mean, I feel like you had that like if anyone who got to hang out with cats, I feel like would be forced to come to the realization that like whatever I was told, it must be wrong. But the thing is that I always talk about the fluency illusion is that it's like people watch my videos speaking Japanese and they come up with an explanation about how I'm not actually that good. And he's like, oh, he says eto and sono so many times and blah 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 blah. And it's like, well, yeah, you don't speak Japanese, so you have no idea how good I am, and you don't want me to be good because that means that your story about the way the world works is wrong. And so then you get keep stuck in your bubble. But I still think that the key to red pilling the world is just get more and more age outers like that guy Brit versus Japan, you know, who he's like has his videos like, hey, it's been 6 months of age at, hey, it's been a year of age at, hey, it's been 18 months, and now I'm fluent. And then he makes a video of him speaking Japanese, and he sounds like way better than every fucking other guy who's been only studying Japanese for 2 years. And so I feel like if we get like 5 or 10 more of those people, it's like, how are you going to deny that? Because where are all the guys who are doing the traditional methods who are getting fluent in 2 years, even though they're not in Japan?
Yep, I loved it. I loved it. I had some guy on my video, was on one of my other videos. I think it was like talking about AJAT or something. It was like the kanji, how I learned 4,000 kanji in 1 year video or something. Like this one guy, he's like, or no, it was Japanese language schools suck video. This guy, he was like, Japanese language schools are great. I learned how my Japanese is great. I've got JLPT level 1, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, come on Skype. Let's have a Skype conversation. Like, you know, put your money where your fucking face is, buddy. And he did. And I was like, here's my Skype info. Fucking hit me up. Guy never fucking hit me up. Fucking pussy, dude. It's just like, because I'm like, if I'm wrong, like, because like I don't study every day. I'm in Japan, you know. I have TV with subtitles on every fucking day. I use my phone's in Japanese. My operating system's in Japanese. If you guys ever go on my Twitch channel, all my games are in Japanese, except for Oblivion, because I couldn't find a Japanese version of that. But it's just like, you know, I mean, like my whole life aside from studying is Japanese. I mean, I should study more, but like it's like, so of course, like if somebody's like, oh yeah, well how do you say blah 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 engineering word, a blah 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 medical term, I'm like, I don't fucking know. Like I will clearly be very I will own the humility and be like, I don't know. It's fine. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the god of Japanese. I'm not even saying I'm super fucking fluent, but I'm functional. I can get around. If there's some word I don't know, I can say, "What the hell are you talking about? Can you explain in some context?" And like, you know, it's all about being communicable. It's not about like, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
waving your dick around in the fucking. I know more dictionary words than you do.
Yeah.
Blah, blah,
Well, I
blah.
mean, the real thing that I think that's pretty much the biggest flaw with traditional language learners is that they're all focused on your output. It's like how well can you speak,
Yeah,
but the real question should be what do you understand? Because that's 10,000 times more important. Because it's like yeah, you don't know how to say something, you can work your way around it. It's not that hard, right? It's like you can even move your hands or whatever. But if you can't understand what the other person's saying to you, you're completely screwed, and the conversation is over. And a lot of the people who it's like you can no matter how many words are memorized, you're not going to be able to understand native Japanese at full speed, like machine gun Japanese coming at you, right? And so like I know you can understand all of that, and I mean it's not as hard, it's not as easy to test. I mean you could if you wanted to, but I feel like more people should be focused on that because if you can actually understand real Japanese, then it just comes down to imitating it, right? Because it's like if you can listen and understand, then you can copy it, right? You can't copy it if you can't understand it.
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, yeah, it's like people who they'll go to a country with a phrase book and they'll figure out how to what the questions are to what to say, but they don't know the fucking replies. Like, what's the point? It's like, you know, how much is this thing? Blah 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 numbers I never studied. Ah, shit. Well, that was useless. You know, I remember the first time I came to Japan, I had this Japanese phrase book. It was a red book. I can't remember who made it. It wasn't. It was told. It wasn't Lonely Planet. It was some other fucking book. But I'm like, you binkyoku wa doko ni arimasu ka? And then they'd be like, blah 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 blah, and I'd be like, I don't fucking know what he said. like you
Yeah,
binkyoku.
yeah,
And I just go back and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it just depends. It just depends.
Yeah,
But
I mean, that's what I think is so interesting because one of the biggest complaints about AJAT is that they tell you to put off input for a while, right? It's like, okay, spend your first long while, maybe even a year or more, just learning to understand Japanese, just inputting. Don't speak yet because, I mean, if you try to speak too early, you'll probably just build a bunch of bad habits anyway. But I mean, I don't even get why that's a real complaint because if you if you're trying to speak from day one or day five or whatever, you're not going to be understanding what the other person's saying. So what's the point anyway?
it's
It's
just
like,
dick waving. They want to look good in front of their friends. That's all it is. It's
yeah,
all.
like it doesn't.
It's all it is. They just want to be like, well, I've been studying Japanese for 3 days, and I know how to say "watashi wa samu desu." You know, it's just like they want to be impressive to their friends. They don't like those are more about the people that want to show off a skill versus just like show off mastery. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like yeah, like just like you said, it's directly attached to that fluency illusion of people not realizing what's going on behind the scenes. It's like there's so many videos of people who's speaking really shitty Japanese on YouTube, like how I learned Japanese or something like white guy speaking fluent, amazing Japanese, and yeah, they're speaking Japanese, but they're not great. But people like normal people, if you're not at least better than that at Japanese, you can't actually tell that. You have no idea how good they are. And then you just people tend to assume that someone's like way better than they really like. They just assume that they're totally fluent, and so they're like, "Oh well, this guy, look, he's only been doing it for 6 months or whatever." But it's really like they first of all they sound like shit, and you just are assuming that they're not even realizing that you're making that assumption. But also they're not if they turned on Japanese TV, they wouldn't understand what's going on, and I can tell because if they're pronouncing words so far away from their original pronunciation, where it's like, I know you've never actually heard that word before, or you wouldn't say it like that, you know? Like, you're making up Japanese, and that just shows me that you haven't actually heard enough real Japanese to use what's kind of real, you know? And also, it's like, is that weird of a thing to wait until and to start speaking until you can actually understand what you're going to be told in response?
People are just
Yeah.
stupid, man. I mean, again, it's more about like they just don't. You know, there's two. I mean, like the thing is like always, you're never gonna win an argument by just talking. You got to, you know, the best way
Yeah,
to win an
definitely.
argument is by showing and saying stuff. And if people deny it, it's fine, man. I mean, like that's the same reason why we still have people who believe the Earth is flat. You know, it's like, well, I never went up there and saw, so I think the Earth is flat. And I'm like. It's like, dude, there's all this proof. I mean, you don't need to go in a rocket. Like, we have proof of satellites, you know, in the air. Well, damn, the satellite, man. It's like some people are just with that, like, you know, those are the people that, like, the Japanese people I talk to when they're like, I want to learn English fluently. I'm like, well, just pay me. Because, like, you know, the most unlikely you guys are just going to dip out anyway. I might as well get some money out of it, you know, from you know, you, what do you call it? You lamers, you plebs, you know, you casuals. But, anyway, why don't we move on to the next thing?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, related to what we were just talking about. So, what do you think about learning Japanese in Japan versus outside of Japan? Because I mean, you'd think initially like, oh, of course it'd be better to be in Japan, and there is the huge benefit of you're not gonna have to take time to do stuff in English. It's like if you're living in like United States, for example, you're going to be using English a lot because almost everyone's going to be speaking English. You're going to go to the store, you're going to have to talk to people or whatever. And your job's probably in English. But if you think about it from an AJAT perspective, if you're in Japan from the beginning, there's a downside of you're going to have to speak Japanese a lot because that you're going to have to live your life in Japanese, and that means like forcing your input and probably making a lot of mistakes, and probably maybe fucking up your accent and stuff, and that's going to be hard to fix later. And so it kind of seems like a tricky issue. Like I get asked from a lot of people, like, "Hey, I'm in Japan right now, and I just found out about AJAT. What do I do? I have to talk every day."
Just, I mean, like, you know, just grab the bull by the horns and fucking hold on. I mean, nothing's perfect, dude. Just, I mean, like, come on, man. Like, my Japanese is not that amazing. I fuck up shit all the time, but I mean, like, you know, that's part of the thing that, like, I had to use Japanese. But if that's like, don't let that stop you from coming to Japan. Like, being in Japan, like, okay, like, I'm watching a stupid TV show right now while I'm talking to you. I got fucking two Twitch streams going on. One guy's in Taiwan, one guy's playing League of Legends or something in Chinese or no Japanese, and it's like, you know. And then I'm watching the show about some lady showing how to make avocado dip to put into the middle of fucking or tofu dip to put in the middle of avocados, and these people are eating, and they're like, "Oh wow, this is pretty good." I would never see that shit in America, you know. And it's like you could do it, you could force it, but I mean, at the end of the day, I love living here. This place is so good. I don't need to have a car to go anywhere. Everyone's really nice. I mean, you can do both. I did it the opposite way of cats. Plenty of other people have done the opposite way of cats. And I mean, like, you know, I suggest, like, you know, if someone's asked me, should I do it while I'm in Japan or while I'm outside of Japan, just do whatever's convenient for your current situation. If you're gonna come, if you have the chance to come to Japan but you don't know Japanese, fuck it, still come, do it. I mean, like, you know, live your life. Go out and do it, because you're still going to be having to commute to school or commute to your job. You're still going to be surrounded by way more Japanese resources than if you were
Yeah,
anywhere
yeah,
else.
definitely.
And plus, you know, people
Yeah,
here are sexy and they got stuff. It's good.
yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, now that I think about it, I can think of a lot of benefits of being in Japan. Mainly that Japanese is always going to remain relevant to you. Like if you're doing AJAT in the U.S., it's like up to you to make it relevant. Like if you don't really have a strong immersion environment, then it's going to fall away because it's like I find that it's like I can't go in like if I see a trailer for a new movie that might come out, I'm gonna want to watch it, like a new American movie. And so it's best to just not see that shit because no one has that much willpower. It's like you got to create this artificial environment that's all Japanese, and then you can do pretty well because if all you're seeing is Japanese shit, then you're not gonna have any chance to want to do something else because you're not even gonna know it's there. But that also means a lot of social isolation, which I mean I'm an introvert, so I did really well with that. But some people, that's like really hard for them, you know. And so it seems like if you were in Japan, it's Japanese is always going to be relevant. And so yeah, the making the environment is going to you still have to do it, still have to put in effort because obviously some people go to Japan and create an mini English bubble and never go anywhere. But of course, it's more like the tides on your side. You know, you can if you go with the flow, it probably will be a lot less difficult, and then it won't require as much isolation, I imagine. But yeah.
I mean, just do whatever's convenient to you at the time. But living in Japan's probably going to be a way more fun experience, a way easier experience than doing it because I mean, you're going to be doing it like all those other foreigners, like my African buddies that never even knew about AJAT, and you're just going to be. I mean, a lot of reasons why people come here and they're fucking. I just say white people a lot because just it always seems like a white person problem on the forums. Like,
Yeah.
my God. Japanese is so mutakashi sugiru. It's just like it's the white people, you know, like the fucking Western people. They do is huddle around their little conformative groups or whatever, and then they just like they never branch out. As opposed to the guys like if you're from Senegal, there's no other fucking Senegalese people in Chiba, so you're put in the fire. You gotta fucking just you gotta move with the flow, you know, and you don't have any time to escape from that shit. So it's either sink or swim. But when you're here and you're in a language school, for instance, or at college or working at a Eikaiwa, you're stuck in that gaijin bubble still that you escape from because you're still having to deal with those people.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
Tom Cruise. You're like Tom Cruise in The Last Samurai if like instead of him getting captured, it was him and like 30 other dudes got captured, and then they get stuck in their own little fucking this little hut somewhere. You know, they did that with the Dutch when the Dutch first came there. They just gave them their own little island, and they just had their own little Dutch shit, and that's all they did. But it's like, yeah, I mean, people. That's another thing that sucks. It's like everybody, like me, who came over here because they watched like Kickboxer, or Bloodsport, or fucking, you know, Karate Kid, or fucking Last Samurai. They come over here with the idea that they're going to be the only one here, and that they're going to be fully immersed in that environment, which you can be if you're an ALT and outside Tokyo. You can totally do that. That's why I love being ALT so much, was that you're the only foreigner in the whole fucking school. And the English teachers are busy with work all the time, so it's just literally sink or swim. Oh, I still miss that job. The job was fun. I wouldn't do it again, but I mean, I miss it.
Yeah, well, that makes it sound like it definitely does. Yeah, like I kind of said a second ago, but I'm thinking more about now. Like you definitely have to put an effort into keeping yourself immersed, whether you're in Japan or not. Because yeah, it can be. It sounds like it could be really easy to get sucked into that bubble. I mean, I've watched it happen to Japanese people here all the time. All the Japanese kids in my college were just sucked into the little Japanese group, and they never escaped from that. But yeah, but it also makes me that makes me curious what because it kind of sounds like like in a weird way, it seems like these white people are really obsessed with having really masterful Japanese, even though they don't end up doing a very good job of it. It seems like they're the when we're talking about the only people who criticize their Japanese are probably other gaijin, and they're really anal about that. And I mean, I am too. I'm one of those guys. But I do recognize where it's like if you see one of those other guys from some like somewhere in Africa or whatever who are just in Japan, and they probably just learn Japanese like out in the wild, and they probably don't sound native or anything like that, and they probably make a lot of mistakes. But I mean, they're communicating just fine, and they're living their life great and having blasts, and it really makes you think like, do we get anal about getting so perfect in Japanese? So what do you think there are benefits that come from going from because I mean obviously there's a lot of benefits of knowing Japanese to like a basic level because there's people who it's like now you can read your menus and like you can get your shit done. What do you think? What benefits do you think come from going from that level to like where Cats is at?
Um, wait, what's the question?
Like what benefits come to you as a gaijin when you really take your Japanese to that like extremely high level rather than just that like I can get by, I can talk to, I can like the basic fluency.
Well, the one thing is that Cats didn't recognize or realize either is that or I mean like it's funny because like when Cats made like a lot of his posts, I was in Chiba with him when that was happening. So it's like when he made stuff like for example what was it like when he made like learn Japanese like an African does. I was like he made that because our buddies were like Tony and Ibu, like Tony from Ethiopia and Ibu from Senegal and like Itoro from Nigeria. Those guys they originally said like those guys they would speak really good Japanese, but Tony couldn't read or write. Ibu couldn't read or write. Itoro spoke Japanese, but with a very heavy African like accent. So it's like but they still got way farther than most of the fucking like white people who come to school just for whatever the fuck. They just go to like language school instead of just like being out in the shit. So I mean, but at the same time, it's like if you learn Japanese, well, one of the biggest benefits is that if a cop comes, if you ever get in trouble with the cops, if you can speak very calmly and very civil with like, it's like when in Braveheart, when you ever watch the movie Braveheart with Mel Gibson?
Never seen it.
You bastard. It's freedom, anyway, there's in just TLDR, Braveheart's basically about this like Scottish guy named William Wallace, and in the beginning of the movie his parents get killed and then his uncle comes for him, and his uncle's a traveler like merchant or whatever, so he takes him all around Europe. So William learns like all these different languages as well, and including French and shit. So when he comes back, like when there's a conflict or whatever, and like Scotland is like asking France for help or something, and he's at like the French castle or whatever, and this princess is like, I don't want him here. He's a fucking savage. I don't want him here. Like, get him out of here. And she thinks he doesn't know what she's saying, and then he replies in French, and he's like, I am not a savage. I'm a person like you. And she's like, oh. It's like, Japanese people have that same effect versus somebody being like, hey, I know him. Why you mean to me? I know him. He dangerous. It's like, if you can be like, officer, I quite, I'm quite concerned and deeply apologetic about the actions of my uncontrollable card of the recent. It's like they'll be like, oh shit, this guy actually talks. And also I guess then you can get more trust with people that have more money and power, like I don't know, company CEOs and politicians, whatever. I mean, it's always good to be able to pull that shit out. And it's better to
Yeah.
have that knowledge than not know it.
I mean, it seems like it would make it a lot easier to, develop intimate relationships because, I mean, I know I don't enjoy trying to talk about serious things with people who speak broken English. It's just like it's like an extra filter you have to go through all the time. I mean, if you really get to know someone, it matters less and less. But it seems like in general that would help.
No, it's true. It's true, but I mean, like, it's just always it's Japanese kaizen. Always aim to be better than the day before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. That's my motto too. So what about translation? How this is something that I kind of wonder about because I know that I could still improve my Japanese a bunch. I know that I can improve my English a bunch. And so it kind of seems like, man, in order to be the best translator that I could ever potentially be, I would have to first master Japanese more, master English more, and then I'd have to like independently develop this translation skill. But it also seems like there's no way that every translator in the world is holding themselves to that standard or there wouldn't be enough, I feel like. I mean, maybe that's just really arrogant, but
Well, the first thing I realized about translation is that my English sucks too. Like, being in Japan, your English level goes down a shitload. And I don't mean like you no speak words same before. I mean like literally your vocabulary goes down. Because you're always speaking like at the beginning you're speaking very simple English to get by, and then on top of that, if you're an English teacher, you're dumbing down your English. I mean, like I didn't used to sound like this. I didn't used to talk like this. I talked a lot way faster machine gun style like my godmother up in Brooklyn. And and just like I use different words, I use different like colloquialisms. I can't fucking even say that word anymore. Just use a lot of like in words, that like from where I used to be like that shit is so cash, yo, or like hey, is that I don't know, this shit's dope or something. I don't fucking know. Just stupid shit. Stupid 90s hip hop bullshit. And it's like but it's like your language, you need to be able to speak, read and write English well. Like one of my first translation jobs that I got was for a game company where I was translating extremely shitty digital cards for the stupid game that I didn't even fucking like called Monster Legends or Legends of the Monster or something. It was some stupid ass game I never heard of until I got the job. And the cards were boring, but like I never written, like they didn't tell me that this job was for like writing. I thought I was like going to be translating game manuals. I didn't think I'd be translating game content of like RPG nature, especially like Western RPG nature, like magic cards and stuff. So like, of course, like my first translation sucked, and they were like, "What is this, Sam?" And I was like, "I've never fucking written this shit before. Like, what the hell do you expect of me?" Like, um, and so it's just like, of course, my shit was wrong and shitty. And so like my senpai at the time, he told me to like play what was it he told me to play? He said like play Skyrim in Japanese because those books in Skyrim are pretty like well in Japanese and English. And I was like, okay, do that. But of course I was lazy. I didn't do it like after like a couple days. And
wait, did he mean play them in both languages so you could compare? Or
yeah, compare both the languages and stuff. Um, yeah, because I mean the thing is that you got to be able to be articulate in both your languages, and for me, I'm more of like kind of military autistic. Like, okay, it's at this, I put it in this, because if you when they want you to articulate something, they want it to go with the overall theme. And if the context is always changing, you don't know what you're really trying. Like, what's the overall theme of how they're trying to get the point across? It's like reading a. It's like if you watched. It's like saying you watch the same movie scene, but like done with 7 different actors or whatever. And you're like, but instead of like the same movie scene, it's like a movie of 7 scenes with the same characters and same story, but each scene is completely done by like a different director or something. So it's like this doesn't flow with the flow of any of this shit. So, but yeah, I mean, like, when should you start translating? I think after you've put in 10,000 sentences, or anywhere from 7,000 to 10,000 sentences, you could start translating. There's plenty of places that you can go online to translate. You can do fan dubs, or not fan dubs, fan subs, fan translation. I mean, like the whole point is like as long as you're not doing medical documents, which could like actually kill people if you fuck up, just go nuts. I mean, like you take advantage of the situation, like to learn about stuff. Like I didn't know anything about fashion, but this girl I met at an audition for a commercial. She runs a candy shop in southern Tokyo, and next to her shop is a fashion shop for like some stupid overpriced bullshit that I'll never be able to fit into. And they were doing a website, and she's like, "Can you translate this website?" And I was like, "I don't know shit about fashion or whatever, but yeah, sure, whatever, fine." The ironic thing was that I translated it into very usable, very like English, and they were like, "Can you make it more Japanesey sounding? Can you make the translation shittier?" And I was like, "Why didn't you guys just do this then?" She's like, "Well, because," and I'm like, "This is stupid. Like, well, you guys should have translated this if you're gonna just make me redo the whole thing." But translating is like one of those things. It's like picking up girls. Like you're gonna suck at it at first, but the more you try, the better you get. The more experiences you have, you'll have more of an idea of which way you want to go. Like, do you want to go towards a relationship, or sleep around, or be single? Like, but you won't know until you try all the different things. And I mean, like, if you want to play it safe, and you have your so important reputation to put on the line, then just simply do a bunch of free translations for people. If you're too afraid to charge money and you're not afraid for your skill. But like, go to volunteers associations, go to like fucking businesses, I don't know, do something. But for me, I just it was all through connections for the most part. Yeah, if you guys want to hear more about that, go check out the ALT Insider podcast I did like a week ago. I go more into detail in that one. But yeah, basically just, do it after 7,000 sentences, try to get into it.
So that should be like pretty fluent in reading and writing, right? I wonder how correlated your independent abilities are in the language with your translation ability. Like, it kind of sounds like after a point, your ability to translate is its own independent skill that you just need to train by actually translating.
Well, I mean, the thing is that translating and learning Japanese are completely different. The two completely different skills, because when you start learning Japanese, eventually stuff just starts becoming stuff.
Yeah,
It's like hon is now hon. It's not
yeah,
it's
you're not
not hon
translating.
equals book, it's just hon. And so that's the thing that sucks about becoming a translator, especially if you're doing AJAT, because eventually you go from like English translations to monolingual translations, or monolingual definition. So it's like you keep going all the way up, and then all of a sudden you have to go all the way back down and be like, "Oh shit, I totally neglected English. Fuck." And yeah, that's one thing Kat's never covered on his website, which he really should have. But I understand he wanted the focus of his website to be, listen, become fluent and then work on that too. So
So Cats
yeah.
did a lot of translation.
Oh, Katz did a shitload of translation. He was a consultant for a lot of companies. After he quit Sony, he would do a lot of consulting for like technology companies and software companies, and yeah, he would just, because he got tired of wearing a suit too. So eventually, he'd just go in there, and also he when he first started his website, he was making no money, like none. This is way before Silver Spoon and anything, and he was making no money from it. So he actually got me into translation, because translation's great because you regulate it all yourself. So if you get good at translating stuff, you can make easily like 3 to 4 grand a month, if not more, by just pumping out translations. So, it just depends on how fast and how hard you're willing to work. But yeah, like Cat's fully financed his website and everything just through translations, and on occasion doing consulting business, and stuff for these IT companies. But eventually he even stopped doing that and just started doing phone calls with them, because he was like, "Why do I need to go an hour out of my way? This is Japanese. It's stupid, but this is stupid. Like, you just call me. We can do a Skype chat. It's easier." That's the thing too. It's like, eventually, guys, if your skill gets so high, and like you build such a relationship with this company that they'll need you more on a regular basis, where they want to rely on you, where they don't want to go and get another person, have to train them up and shit. You can pull shit like that all the time, because they're like, "Oh my god, he is not only a good translator, he's like the best translator we've ever had. He's always on time. Everybody loves him. They always ask us for like, how do you get him afterwards?" Like, you can get people to fucking just think of you like that. You'll always have power to have more flexibility when you do shit. Here, I'm gonna take a little break. I gotta take a piss, but you talk or something. Yeah. So I do have a couple cat stories that I can tell, so those will be fun.
Awesome. Yeah, I think people are I'm gonna really love that because
I
everyone
just,
wants to know more about cats.
yeah, everyone's just like, I need to know more. What did he smell like? What did his arms feel like when he held you? What? I don't think anything like that happened. You know. So it's like, it's like I remember like one time I went over to Katz's house and he had like his oven, like his gas oven, both of the ovens like on and just the fire going. And I was like, why do you have the fire going from your oven on? You're not cooking. He's like, oh, I just wanted to test to see if it warmed up the house faster than the heater. I'm like, you have cats. Like, what if they jump on that? And he's like, well, they'll know not to jump on the fire anymore then too. I'm like, ah, shit, dude. I remember there was like one like couple months where he tried to be Muslim for a little bit, and he's like, those guys pray way too much. Fuck this. But he was trying to be like black Muslim, not like Al Akbar Muslim. Like he was
Wait, like
literally
he wanted
like
to be religious? I thought he hated religion.
no, he wanted to try it out. He wasn't like, he was like, let's try this out and something. Because he read Malcolm X's book like 1 month, like for like a while, and then he's like, okay, we'll try this thing, and he liked the stuff, but he's like, way too many rules, fuck that. I remember I went vegan for 1 month, and just to fuck with me, he went vegan too, and he did way better than me. But he got super skinny and very malnourished from that because he went hardcore on it. So he had to go back to like eating milk, and then he went all. And the funny thing is, like when you go vegan, like all your water weight gets out of your body, so all this like pushy, gushy stuff, like it just like the bubbly stuff in your skin, like it just leaves. So he was like super skinny cats for a while, but then he started drinking milk again and just like big fat bloated cats again. Man, I'd go over to his house and we just hang out, which sucked because like I was allergic to cats. And he had two of them, but his cats were really chill, and like he didn't like using his air conditioner ever. So like we'd always just be there and it's hot and fan. And he had like a bunch of beanbag. Like you'd walk into his house, right, and then there was like trash cans. Like him and his wife were always moving shit around, and so like we'd go into his like house and they'd always have like new appliances or new something. Always just moving shit. He had his study room. They had their bedroom. It was like a really shitty 2DK. And like she had her oh man, I'm getting like super nostalgic thinking about this shit. I haven't thought about this in like forever. They had their bedroom, like it was literally just like a triangle fucking shaped apartment. It was really shitty. But he got that apartment because he originally went to Japan to work with Sony, and Sony is in Shinagawa or something, and the train line from Tsuga and Chiba goes all the way one shot to Shinagawa, or to Shinagawa from Tsuga and Chiba. But I just remember like that apartment being like, oh, it's like, I don't know, it's one of those things where you can clean up as much as you want, but there's still cat dander everywhere, even if you vacuum everything and shit. And but I remember like he would just have random things, like he had like so many books at one point. Like that's the reason why I had my manga collection for so long, is because like that. But it's funny, like I'm realizing a lot of stuff that cats did then. Because he was like, I think like he was like at least 28 or 29, and I was like 20. So it's like he was already like 10 years older than me mostly. But like we grew up with each other in that 1 year, and he like he had books, and then he got rid of all of his books and went digital with everything, which I'm doing now. He had his own little like matrixy setup, which I have now. He'd sit with pillows and stuff and like cuddle and shit while he's working. Like I do that now. It's just weird how it's like I didn't do any of that shit before, but now I'm like, oh yeah, now I gotta make my house like super minimalistic and super comfortable. He had two cats, Mago and Kenji. Kenji was a fucking weird cat. I remember one time it almost took Sarah's eye out. Like she was looking at it, and Kenji was like, I don't like you looking. He fucking swiped her in the eye. We almost had to call an ambulance. Fuck that cat. Amago was this really chill cat that cats got on a walk. Cats would always go on these fucking weird ass walks, like every day. Like I remember sometimes he'd bring a laptop, and he just like, and it wasn't even like an Apple Air. It was a giant brick laptop, and he just like carried around with an extra battery extending, and he like do SRS reps like just some fucking weird autistic dude walking around or whatever. I remember one time when I don't know. It's like cats was like it wasn't just about Japanese. It was like meeting this guy who like not only had his shit together, like he was super introverted, but he'd be super extroverted too. There was never one or the other. Like, he'd have his time where he'd want to be completely alone and not be bothered with, and then he'd be outside too, and like he would just own the room. Like everywhere we went, he would always just make fun of people and just like, but like have fun of them, you know. Like I've had people that never laughed or anything, and like it just they were dead on the inside, and Cats would just bring them to life. I remember one time we were walking outside, and his this cop, like I never got questioned by the cops because he white people, you know, but he got questioned by the same cop all the time, like all the same cops in that area. And I remember one time I was there with him when it happened, and I thought he was bullshitting, but he always carried around candy, and I'm like, you don't eat candy. Why do you have candy? He's like, watch this. And we were at the Seiyu grocery store walking out, and he was ahead of me. The cop didn't see me. The cop stopped him, and he's like, Takahashi-san, I've seen you. This is the third time you've stopped me. I remember your name. Why don't you remember my name or my face? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, the quotes or whatever. And he gave the cop a piece of candy, and then they sat down on the curb and they talked it out. And he's just like, you know that this is like, I'm not angry at you. I understand you got quotas and everything, but like, dude, like, work with me here. You know, I'm a person. You're a person. I'm speaking your language. I'm living here. You know, this is the third time you stopped me, man. Like, I don't know what's going on in your personal life, but come on, bro. Like, can we work it out? That's the thing that I really hate about outrage culture. Like, especially here in Japan, of all the stupid like there's that Baye guy, Baye McNeil, who's a friend of mine. I feel critical of him because he's a good guy. I've met him. He's awesome. He's never told me that like to fucking beat kids up or whatever. Like he's a good guy, but you know, he doesn't know Japanese and he's never really assimilated. And so like, you know, whenever something fucked up happens with black people or whatever, he just jumps on the thing like Al Sharpton, kind of like, oh, you know, racism, ring the bells. And it's like, it's not like that here. And he knows that. He's written books on this before. But at the same time, he knows that no one cares about that now. They only care about clickbaity bullshit, CNN fucking top headline. Barbara Bush is dead. Do not publish. Do not publish. You know, it's like, it's just, but like Katz was always really chill about it. He was the exact opposite. He's like, this dude doesn't know. And normally I wouldn't care, but like this is the third time I got to sit him down and have a talk with him. But he wasn't ever like, I'm better than you. He wasn't ever anything like that. And that's something that like you don't get with a lot of people. Like with Ardo DeBito, who's another friend of mine. I like him too. Great website, especially his stories about him being in Japan. But it's like he never made the site in Japanese. It's like if you really want to make a change in Japan, make your site in Japanese. Let the Japanese people know what's going on. Not just the 10% of like of 1% of foreigners in Japan. Like make it Japanese, make it known. And he never did that. So it's like, you know, kind of art and futility. But at least Katz was like, I know that's stupid. That's not my fight. I don't care. But I got to talk with this guy. But I'm not going to be all high and mighty about it. I really remember that. That was appreciative. We met my friend Ryu, whose dad was Yakuza. We met him at a fucking Matsuri, and like he talked to us. And Katz at first he didn't want to talk. Whenever we would, because I'd go with him on these walks, because he's like, "Come on, you're fat, let's go." And I'm like, "Fine, whatever, fuck." And we go on these walks, and we went on this. It was so weird. Like I'll try to find it on a map on Google, but there was this park that was by his house. If you walked a little bit of ways, and it was so weird because it had a surrounding like suburban area, but instead of just a normal park, it was indented by levels. So it's like a big hole in the ground. It was so fucking weird now that I think about it. But we met this guy named Ryu there, and it was weird because he didn't have a Japanese accent. He spoke like super fluent English, and I was like, wait, what? I was like, are you American? Like, how do you know? And he's like, no, I lived in the States for 8 years. I was like, oh, that's cool. And of course, Katz is like, I don't want to talk to you, speak English, man. But I was like, this dude seems pretty chill. And so I eventually hung out with Ryu more and more, and then eventually Katz like kind of warmed up to him. And Ryu really liked Katz too. And Ryu is actually the guy that Katz is speaking to in his video, where he's like, you know,
with the blue shirt on.
Yeah, the kesho shite ne no ka, you know, zupi na no ka, you know, that's Ryu who he's talking to. Probably shouldn't have used his real name. It doesn't matter. No one knows his face. Yeah, anyway, so it's just like, you know, I mean, like, there's so many stories like that of just Katz being just awesome and weird and fun. You know, I think it's just a lot of people got angry when Katz left because it's like he was so different, and it's like he was kind of like a drug. It's like you want more of him when he's around, and then when he's gone, you feel like you missed out on something, and that like you should have taken more advantage of him being there. And now that it's gone, like you feel like you're never gonna get the chance. It's like it literally felt like somebody died when Cats left. I think for a lot of people, because like what's happening? Oh no, And so yeah, I think I don't know. I'm trying to think of like other like there's so many stories I have of him, like the stupid vegan one. I remember we would just get in my car and we go on stupid road trips around Chiba. There's one where we went to like this barbecue place and we're just talking shit. That was fun because like Katz was he's not a super vegetarian, but he didn't eat meat for a while when I knew him, just because he was trying it out. But yeah, I mean, like he went to the Mormon university, but he was never Mormon, but he hung out with the Mormons all the time, and they'd be like, he'd know Mormonism better than them, and they'd be like, why didn't you join the church? And he's like, because you guys don't like black people. I mean, yeah, it's fine, yeah, just don't want to join the church. It's not a big deal. And then he'd make fun of black people who joined the Mormon church and be like, like we're still second class citizens in there, and they'd be like, yep, but yep, anyway, so. It's funny. It's funny. And but anyway, so it's just like I don't know. I'm trying to think of other episodes. There's like, Katz didn't really have a lot of friends when I met him, because he's the kind of guy that it's like unless you introduce him to a bunch of people, he's not gonna. So he like a lot of him and I had a lot of similar friends because, because I introduced him to a lot of friends. I introduced him to Miho. I introduced him to, what was it, Ryu. He knew a lot of people thanks to me. And but Katz never drank. He didn't drink. He didn't do drugs. In fact, one time we had to call an ambulance because I forgot why, but the hospital gave him some caffeine pills. And, like, he felt like he was overdosing on caffeine pills. And I was like, what? And to call an ambulance is only like $10 here. So he called the ambulance. It would bring him to the fucking hospital. And he did this like 3 times, and I was like, dude, like just like have you ever taken drugs? Just like wait for it. You'll calm down and like and I don't know. I was just like you're making such a big deal out of it. But then again, like I hadn't had to go to the hospital yet, and I grew up poor, so I never even been to like a hospital really. So I was kind of worried about that. But he was fine. That fucking goddamn, that apartment was just so shitty. The apartment that he lived in, so shitty. But it was cool though, because like I remember he just have like eventually he just bought all these bean bags for his room. Like in the room with him and Sarah, they just had a bed, and that they'd fold up every day. And then Sarah did music, so she like had her keyboard and stuff there, and like very minimalistic, nothing there. And then Katz's room would just have like. It used to have books, but then it was just bean bags, and like his sit down on the floor computer desk, like what I have right now. And we would just hang out. I remember one time, like Sarah took a picture of us. I don't know if I still have it anymore, but Katz is on the beanbag. I'm on the beanbag. It's a giant fucking beanbag. Like he probably spent like $500 or $600 on this, and this is when he had no money, just for a stupid fucking beanbag. He had to order it from America because they didn't have them in Japan. And it's just me, him, and it's summer, and it's hot, and we literally are just passed out on the beanbag, and his cat's, like, there, too, and the cat's just passed out. Like, it was so hot there. We're just passed out. And I remember she was like, aw, I'm like, oh, wake up. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Man, this is before smartphones and everything. Shit. Yeah, thanks to Kat's getting me onto Sarusu. I was like, dude, I can't do Sarusu at school because sometimes the laptop's being used. And he's like, well, just get internet on your phone. I was paying 4,000 yen a month just to do Sarusu on my phone. This is on the old shitty flip phone. So, like, I can't, it's funny. It was a good investment back then, but still, it's just hilarious. That's awesome. But anyway, yeah, that was, I don't know. That's a fun little memory there. I'm rambling. So
did he really have like a passion with helping people get good at Japanese, or was that more just like a thing he could do because he had all the necessary skills?
No, I mean, like, he made that. I think he made it at first to kind of like document his stuff. I don't think it was ever about making money at first when he started making it. But after Because I mean, his site was online for like, I don't know, 5 years or something. No, no, no. I can't remember how long it was. It was online for a while, like a couple of years before he started actually trying to monetize it. And I mean, the thing is that like the more popular it got, the more he had to pay for like web hosting or whatever. So he's like, shit, I better make some money off of it. And he hated putting ads on his site. He was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And if you look back, like, I don't know if you can, but it's like when he first had the site, no pop-ups, no side ads or whatever. And eventually he was like, shit, like I need to pay for this. I'm not going to pay for it. There's too many people coming. So he was like, I was like, well, just do ads. And he was like, I don't want to do ads. I'm like, well, find shit that you like that you'd support anyway by buying shit and just reach out to them. And that's how he got the kanji poster on his website. I was like, he reached out to the Air Asia or whatever the fuck, the sender of shit from China. He reached out to them. He reached out to the kanji poster page, and he put that stuff on there. And then he started doing he started thinking about offer like, you know what, people are lazy and they're not reading my site, and they're still asking me to do everything for them, even though all they need to do is read it. Fuck it. Why don't I just literally feed them like a baby, silver spoon. Just give them make it so they can be lazy and not read my website, and I just give them all the work to do every day, so these people can be lazy drones about it. And I think that's because he's like, the people that don't want it but still want to use the site, everything's there for free already, so they can't really complain about it. And the people that do silver spoon, they're lazy. It's either one, they're too lazy and they just want to be literally fed something to do every fucking day, or two, and if they don't do it, it's not my fault because they didn't do it at the end of the year, or two, they want to support me anyway and they don't really need it but they're paying for it anyway, or three, they're just curious about it and they're gonna check it out. It's as simple as that. And the thing is like, I think he had like the whole, love it or your money back thing, and like he would legitimately do it. But the thing is that I think one of the reasons why people got angry is he's like, I'll refund you in 2 years, I will refund you in 2 years or whatever. But it's like, but not right now. And it's like he clearly has that written down on his thing before you buy it. So it's like buyer beware, dude. But it's just like, I don't know. Did you ever watch the plastic surgery drama Nip Tuck?
No.
Matt, I'm gonna smack you.
I've been
Nip
doing
Tuck
AJAT, dude.
They have it in Japanese, motherfucker. You definitely should watch AJAT. It's one of my watch Nip Tuck. It's one of my favorite fucking dramas. AJAT too, but in Nip Tuck, it's all about these plastic surgeons. It's like every fucking episode it's like in Pokemon how there's a different fucking Pokemon introduced in every episode. That's the formula of the TV show. Well,
I think I've heard about this.
In Nip Tuck, every episode's like a new kind of like medical thing, like Dr. House or whatever, right? And anyway, this old woman, she gets liposuction, and they're like, okay, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that, whatever. And so, don't eat afterwards, don't do strenuous exercise, let yourself heal, get a lot of sleep. She doesn't do any of that. And then she comes back and says, look what you did to me. I'm damaged beyond repair, and it's all your fault. And it's like, did you do everything we told you to do? Yes, I did. And then her daughter comes in later, and she's like, she didn't do any of this. This is like the third time this has happened. So it's like, the thing that I hate about the guys on the Kohi forum that talk shit about cats is, one, they're not doing what you and I do right now. They're not showing their face. One. So there's no credibility. Anybody who ever talks shit about me on the internet, if they don't show their face and put themselves out there like I did, their credibility is zero. It's 0 fucking %. That's why, right now, the Nostalgia Critic and Channel Awesome, they're kind of going through this controversy right now about, all these ex-employees that work for Nostalgia Critic. But the thing is that those people have put themselves out there. They're on the internet. They're credible. You can find their fucking face. So it's like they have at least more, they have some more backbone to what they got, more solidity to their claims, But these people talking shit about cats, I remember I read this long fucking post about how, I forgot where it was from. Somebody's like, I spent a year being a AJAT guy and I was super alone, and
oh yeah,
super
on the Language Dojo post.
Yeah, and I was just
it doesn't exist anymore, but yeah.
Oh, really? Well, I'm just like, at the end of the day, all these people, it's like, a lot of these people are too pussy to show their face, and two, it's like, I don't know, it's just like, at the end of the day, it's like Tony Soprano said, very wise man, rest in peace, James Gandolfini. He said, "Who gives a shit about what people who don't have the balls to talk shit to your face have to say?" You know, and it's true. So it's like a lot of these people who talk shit about cats. You got to remember this, that there's a lot more focus given to negative shit on the internet than positive shit. Because just like my GoPro video that had over 600,000 views, it only had 3,000 dislikes. In the overall grand scheme of things, 3,000 out of 600,000 views is not that bad. But the thing is that, haters, when you got haters, especially angry people, misery loves company. And when you're angry, you get focused. And when you get focused, you get organized. And so you can make things look like they're a bigger deal than they are. So, of course, if you get a couple of haters of AJAT talking shit on the internet, nobody's on there bragging, being like trying to defend cats because they already got what they wanted out of the experience.
Yeah, yeah,
They're
that's
not
the
going to
thing.
go out of their way to defend him, you know. So that's why I think there's like there's kind of like a power balance, and why people on 4chan talk shit about cats. By the way, who still goes to 4chan? I stay off
Not me.
sites like 4chan and Reddit, you know. I mean, I love
Yeah.
going on B sometimes and seeing what people are talking shit, but usually it's just the same copy and paste shit. You guys want to find some good 4chan experiences? Just like Google like 4chan, like top. What the fuck was it? Like just go up Internet Historian. I loved it when they did the whole pool is closed thing. Oh, hilarious! But I don't know. It's just like at the end of the day, like why would you take anyone's opinion that's too afraid to show themselves? If this isn't
Yeah,
this
yeah,
isn't
yeah.
this isn't 20, 30 years ago where you could use a pen name and still be cool. Like, no, like, show your face. Oh, you can't because you're afraid of putting your reputation out there and comparing yourself to other people that have? Yeah, you're a piece of shit. Cockroach. Fucking cockroach. Fucking put that clip from fucking Scarface in here when I say that. Fucking cockroach. There you go.
Is there any like common questions you get from your patrons who are doing AJAT, like about learning Japanese, that like maybe specifically about how to do it outside of Japan, that maybe I would have insight into?
Yeah, no, I asked that question on Discord, but it was all superficial, stupid questions that didn't really
Oh,
matter. Um, yeah, no, yeah, sorry, none. Nothing different from what you've probably been asked already.
yeah, I imagine everyone has the same questions.
You know, what did you exactly do? I have a 3-hour video on that. Oh, yeah, but like, what did you do? I killed a lot of people. Really? Yeah, just a lot of people. Felt good though.
Well, I watched a lot of anime, you know.
Cool, dude. Well, I'm out of here. Stay black. Talk to you later, man.
You too. Peace out, dude.
Yeah, but.
Thanks so much.